Yeah, are you ready?
Yep, we
Yes,
should be
yeah.
live in some seconds. Let's see.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I think we're there. I
Yeah,
think we're live. Let's,
perfect.
let's double check this time.
Okay, I've left a
Make
comment.
sure.
You ready? Yes, yeah.
Yep, we should be live in some seconds. Let's see.
Okay.
I'm hearing myself again. Are you?
No, I think it's okay now.
I think it's it. Okay, that's it. Okay,
Cool, all
perfect.
right.
Welcome, Amina. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. For everyone who don't know Amina, I mean, you absolutely should. I will leave all the links in the description box so that you can go and follow her incredible channels. But she is a queen, and she's a productivity queen. She's an academic queen. The way we connected was all about molecular biology and genetics. Could you just introduce yourself very, very quickly, Amina, before I dive in and bombard you with questions around productivity?
Yes. So, as Gamza said, my name's Amina. You might know me here on YouTube as Dr. Amina Yonis, and like we have a similar background, molecular biology, sort of cell biology. So I did a PhD in cancer biology, which I found exciting. But I think the key thing that I learned from that experience was about productivity and time management and sort of self growth. And that's sort of what I'm now doing here on YouTube, I guess, like trying to pass that sort of knowledge. And I currently work as well. I've got a few different roles, but I have a business and I teach, I also lecture, so many different things, but all in the same realm of like education and academia. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I loved last week's conversation, so I'm glad that we can kind of like continue it a little bit this week as well.
Absolutely. And we have so much to learn from you. Obviously, this was my first question. You are an academic, you work, you're employed, you have a day job, you are an entrepreneur, you just launched a page doctor, you have some courses on Skillshare, you're a YouTuber, and you're a mother, a fresh mother. So this is the first thing that I'm gonna ask you, like, how do you do it? How are you being productive?
Oh my gosh. I'm not going to repeat what I said last week, but I think I kind of touched upon like sort of having an important like support system. Number one is so key, like just calling on people. And I think being really honest as well at times. I think we had a bit of experience, was it like 2, 3 weeks ago, where now that I have so many things that are like, on top of me, some things just slip. Whereas before, that would never be the case. When you didn't, before I had a child, I'd be on top of my calendar, like I'd know my timetable. Things don't really change. But when you have a
Mhm.
child, if he needs you in that moment, everything else kind of has to wait. And I think being really honest with your friends and family is so important. Like that day that, last, I think 2 weeks ago, we had a situation. I was like, look, Gamza, look, this is not like me, but this is what's happening. And I think, you have to just really be honest. And I think that's something that you're quite vulnerable in those positions as well. And I think what you have to do is just try to be honest with yourself, lean on your support system, and just try to manage your time in whatever way works for you. If that's a planner, then use a planner. If that's, calendar online, use a calendar. If it's an app, use an app. If it's a post-it note, use a post-it note. But just like whatever works for you. And that's sort of like what I do. There are many days where nothing goes to plan. So, and that's absolutely fine. But, for the most part, I think just having that discipline and that like habitual thing that I do every single day means that I don't have to think about it anymore. And for the most part, things go to plan.
That's a perfect answer. So what you're saying in summary is have a system that works for you, first of all, right?
Yeah.
To stay productive, like whatever that planning system
Yeah.
is,
Mhm.
just make sure that you have a system.
Yeah.
And the second question you kind of touched upon, but we all have distractions or disruptions. We make plans and we get a phone call, or like the doorbell rings, or like the sink doesn't work, or some
Yeah.
emergency, something. And most often than not, when these things happen, plans move obviously, but also it creates this whole disruption on your
Yeah.
motivation to get back as well.
Yeah.
And I'm saying it in the most positive way. Obviously
Yeah.
Sofian is not a disruption in
No,
that
but
regard, but
yeah.
like you might say that I'm going to do this while he's having his nap, and then maybe he doesn't sleep that day.
Yeah.
How do you make that system flexible for you enough so that you can get back on track and
Mhm.
move around these unknown situations in life?
Yeah, good question. And I've had to sort of, I guess, develop this as, he's 9 months now. I had to develop this as I've got more used to it. Before I know that no matter what, I can do that thing, right?
Mm.
Whereas now it's like, okay, I'm not sure. So what I do is I kind of look at the list of things and try to prioritize them in terms of I can do this if he's around, or I can like rearrange this if anything happens, or this is an absolute like it has to be done without him. Like I need that hour. So for example, I do like one-to-one consultations online. I cannot have him around. Like it's just
Yeah.
like it's not possible. I tried it. It's not possible in any way. Like he'll sit down for 5-10 minutes maximum, definitely not for an hour. I can't give that person 100% focus. That's not fair. So for those sessions, I make sure my husband's around or I'm at my family's or whatever. So I know for sure he's being looked after by someone else for the hour, right?
Mm.
Whereas for something like I don't know, editing a video or filming, if I have to stop halfway, that's absolutely fine. It's not a big deal. If I have to not post that day, that's fine. Like it, so I think having that kind of like prioritization system where I know there's a task, it needs like 100% attention there, so that cannot be like scheduled without him being like looked after like this. I can't,
Yeah.
do this live when he's running around. Like it's not professional. It's not possible. It's just not possible, right? So I made sure that for this, I know someone's around to look after him. If it takes an hour, if it takes 22 hours, like I know I'm fine. Whereas like if it was like what our chats that we had like 2 weeks ago when we were practicing, I know that's just a casual chat. And
Yeah.
so I think that's really important to again, just I guess being honest with yourself. I think in this case as well, I've learned that you can't just brush over some things. You just have to be honest with yourself and say, right, this is something that I just genuinely like need me time for. So
Yeah.
I have to just schedule that if I can. And if I can't, I just don't do it. Like that's the truth. And that's I've lost opportunities like that, but if I can't do it, I actually can't do it. I'd rather do something 100%, give it my all, than kind of do 50%, have the other person unhappy or myself frustrated and then Sufyan frustrated. Like it's not fair on anyone. So it's either I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it and give it my all, or I'm not going to do it. And, that's absolutely fine as well.
That's very good. That point of being realistic with what is a non-negotiable and what
Yeah.
is some sort of flexible or high
Yeah.
priority, low priority.
Yeah.
I have in my Google Calendar a coloring system where
Ah,
if there's a call that I am accountable to somebody else to, I turn it green so that I know that that is an hour that I can never move around. But
okay.
for the other ones, obviously, my accountability to myself is
Yeah.
obviously very, very critical too, because
Of
it's my
course.
promise to myself, the most important type, right? But
Yeah.
still, if it's not green, I'm only letting myself down. So yeah, absolutely. So in your tasks, you have a way to determine what is a non-negotiable has to happen,
Yeah.
and you have to make it that
Yeah.
time, and the rest just happens when they happen, and be okay with that, right?
I think to be completely honest, like I think in this day and age, especially now with everything being online and kids being at home, for the most part, people are okay with distractions. And I think that's something to understand. You shouldn't be sorry or apologetic for having those distractions, be it like a sibling, a young sibling, or even like, a family member or a child. Like we should never say, oh, I'm sorry, I have to look after. That's part of your life. Like I come
Yeah.
with that person. I think if I can't do that, if it's something like a meeting with like I don't know, someone from work, a line manager, if it's not too serious and I can have a conversation with him around, I'll just have it. Ultimately, that's part of your life now. And I think everyone kind of understands that now and
Yeah.
are quite compassionate and I guess empathetic about that situation. But like I said, if someone's paying for a service, that's a bit unfair. Well, it's completely unfair. I wouldn't appreciate that myself. So for that situation, that's the only situation that I can't really have where I'm like, no, it has to be me time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything else, I just kind of work around him. And no one's had an issue with it so far, and people shouldn't have an issue with it. So,
No, not at all.
yeah.
Empathy, right? I mean, everybody's going through something, and having kids obviously is the most holy thing that you can do.
Yeah.
And if somebody doesn't understand that, that may be that relationship you have to question, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. A simpler question now, a shorter question. And by the way, if you have questions for Amina, please let us know in the chat. It's
Yeah.
working, so
Yes,
yay.
finally.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you gave this recommendation of one resource that really helped you be more productive, what would that be? It can be a course, it could be a tool, it could be a
Yeah.
channel, it could be anything.
Oh, this is a really hard question, honestly, because I feel like I wouldn't, I don't think I have a resource. I think it's experience. I think I'm going to say experience.
Nice.
Does that count?
Yes, of
Is that
course.
okay? Honestly, I, I genuinely don't think, and you can help me as well here. I don't think one tool has helped me combat every issue that I have
Yeah.
with productivity. Things, this helps with that, that helps with that. But I think for what has helped me be the person I am and have the discipline I have is the experience that I've gone through from my PhD, having to balance like multiple projects and working out how to kind of like Tetris fit things in together. And then, going on to be married and having a job and having YouTube channel, trying to fit in those things, and then having kids. And I think that life experience is what essentially has given me that tool, because ultimately, even if I watch, let's say, your videos, which are amazing, I might not relate to everything that you say, right?
Yeah.
Same way you might not relate to everything I say. So I can only take things everywhere. Um, but ultimately, you need to apply them into your life and figure out what works for you. So I know that's not a great answer, because it's not like giving you a one shoe fits all, but there is, to be honest, there really isn't a one shoe fits all answer to that. So
I think you gave the best answer possible,
yeah,
Amina. So what you're saying is, again, create a system that is to your needs. So
yeah,
maybe it's a combination of a calendar and a planner and another whatever, or maybe
yeah,
it's 10 different products in that
yeah,
system. But
yeah.
what you really are saying that is a great resource is to learn from your experiences and adjust,
Mhm.
make it better, improve constantly. I think this is the biggest problem that I see in my coaching clients is that they
Yeah,
start using a planner or they start using a planning system,
yeah,
and then their life changes. I mean, all of our lives
yeah.
changed just recently, but
Mhm.
naturally they evolve as well as you progress
Mhm.
through life, and
Mhm.
they don't update that system to
Mhm.
fit the needs. So what you're saying is just keep updating. That
Yeah,
is the perfect resource
yeah,
to have.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love
But
that.
if I'm going to give, like, I'm just thinking, if I'm going to give you three things, I'll give you three things.
Yes.
Let's give you three things, right? I can't give you one. One is a planner, right?
Yep.
Again, not a specific planner, but just like a planner, something, somewhere that I can write things down.
Mm,
I think having a visual aid for me, since, like I said, since my PhD, I've realized that I have to have somewhere that I can see what I'm doing. I have to have somewhere that I can flick and say, right, I'm going live today, I'm going live tomorrow, I need to sort this out. Otherwise, you end up like realizing things in the moment, and that's when you're all over the
yeah.
place.
Yeah.
So definitely having some sort of system, a planner, exactly, um, kind of online calendar, whatever, somewhere you can write things down. Secondly, having habits, some sort of habit tracker.
Oof.
Again, this could be, there's a few apps for this, but you can use something where you're tracking the habits that you want to do. So for example, one of my habits is going for a walk every single day, doing 10K steps. So I try to track that either on my phone or like a smartwatch or something. And for me, that helps with productivity, because it means that I've gone out there, I've refreshed myself, and
Yeah.
ultimately that's so important. And what else? The third thing, this is probably not mentioned much, but a watch. I find having a physical
Yes.
watch is the most productive. Like just now, I was like, okay, cool. I've got 20 minutes, okay, 15 minutes. And I can physically see that. My phone was charging in the room. So I don't always carry my phone around. In fact, that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I try to reduce for productivity. So actually having a watch, when I don't leave the house with a watch, I'm panicked, because I'm like, oh my God, I can't keep track of the day. So having some sort of manual watch really, really helps me with productivity. And top tip, I usually put it 1 minute forwards.
Yeah.
So when
So
it
you're
says
not
like,
late ever.
yeah, so it said 5:30, no, 5:29. And I was like, okay, let me go. But actually it was 5:28.
Nice.
So you're
Yeah.
always on time.
I love that. I used to do that a lot, but I think time awareness in general, right? Like we sometimes don't notice time passing, especially when we're doing the things that we like. And
Yeah,
then sometimes we're like, oh, it's a 1 hour thing, but it's actually 4. So we
yeah,
plan differently.
yeah.
I have an app recommendation for that. My phone is always in my office, but it
Yeah.
is not within my reach. So I have to get up and get it. So there is a barrier to
Yes.
prevent procrastination on it. The app is called Chime. It's for
Chime.
iPhone, but
Okay.
there are other, yeah, there are other versions of it. And what you do is you tell the app to make a lovely sound, nothing disruptive,
Yeah.
every whatever time. So
Okay.
mine chimes every half an hour,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, 4:30. Oh, 5. So
Mm,
I'm keeping, you know, like
yeah,
the
yeah,
track
yeah,
of time. And I do have a watch which is charging
yeah.
right now as well.
Okay.
Since I bought it, Amina, you're
Yeah.
so right. I am
Yeah.
always on point. So brilliant tips,
Makes such a
honestly,
difference.
gold. Yeah.
We think that because we have the phone next to us, we have the time. But actually,
No.
when I pick that phone up, I then reply to messages. I then go on Instagram, blah, 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 blah. No, no, no. I just need to know the time. That's all I need. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's just amazing.
yeah.
Thank you.
No.
So the next one is about setting goals around your productivity and your tasks.
Mhm.
Obviously, with so many unknowns in life,
Yeah.
everybody, but particularly you're a new mother. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of unknown situations right now, and Safian is going through a lot of change.
Yeah.
So how are you setting your goals? How are you making them realistic enough? Like, I want to launch this course by this time, but what happens, like, you know, are you rounding up? Are you sticking to how does that work? I got too
Yeah.
excited about this
Yeah.
question.
Okay, so I think I do a mixture of two things when it comes to goals. The first thing, at the start of the year, I give myself sort of, I wouldn't say goals, but sort of like targets for the year, things that I want to achieve.
Mm,
So one of the things I think this year was sort of expanding like the page doctor. So maybe like redesigning the website or sort of maybe hiring more people. So for me, that's a goal. I don't necessarily set a date for some goals just because I know that I want to do it. So I'll get into the motion as I guess as the months progress. So in
yeah.
January, I'll think about it. I'll try to find someone. In February, so I've got that overarching goal that I know I want to achieve that year. And I'll usually discuss it with someone that's close to me,
Mm,
so either a husband or a friend. Like I'll discuss it. So at least then the next conversation I have with that person, they'll be like, oh, how's that going? So, it's kind of accountability, but without too serious, I guess.
yeah.
That's sort of one way that I set goals, have an overarching thing I want to do, but not necessarily put pressure on myself. Because, like you said, when you've got so many other demands, I think you set yourself up for failure when you're like, no, 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 has to happen in January, has to happen in
Mm,
February. Because, life isn't like that. I think last year taught us that,
yeah.
life can just go pew. And then the second thing, and this is probably not a good thing, but it works for me, is by like accepting jobs that I know I can't do. But if I
Mm,
accept them and I've got someone waiting for me on the other side, I will get them done. so, so for example, there's a course that I'm developing, and like a company's contacting me to develop a course, really big course, really amazing opportunity. And they said, we want you to do it by, I think he said April, May. So do the course, like film it, edit it, everything. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So even though I know it's February, so March, April, like it's like 2, 3 months time, but it's a lot of work for that
yeah.
time. I've said yes. So I
Now
know
you
that by
gotta.
saying yes, I'm gonna get it done. Like I'm gonna put pressure on myself. I'm probably gonna stress myself out. But I've said yes to one big thing, not two or three or four, like one big thing
Mm,
that I know that I'll do. And I think sometimes you just have to put that pressure on yourself a little bit because what
mm.
do they say? Diamonds don't come from the pressure, don't come from, what's that
Yeah,
they say?
I know exactly what you're
Yeah, the
talking about,
diamond
but yeah.
pressure rock thing. Yeah. Like you can't be in your comfortability zone and achieve like success all the time. I think sometimes you have to come out of that zone a little bit and I guess test yourself, test your barriers, test how far you can go, test your limits. And I know that from now to then, there's 3 months time. I'm going back to work. I've got my child, so it's going to be quite busy. But I know that because I have that deadline and someone's waiting for you, like you said, like I'm accountable to someone, I know that I will get it done. I might have to do like a long weekend. I might have to do, a couple weekends, but I will get it done. And I think that's sometimes important, like not just to have accountability, but to just put that like hard deadline for yourself, especially if you know you're someone. I can be quite sort of I'll do that later, like I'll do that
Yes.
later, like pushing it aside. So if this person said to me, when do you want to do it, I'll probably say, October, maybe like the end of the year.
2030.
Next like 10 years. But this way it's like, can you do it in May? I'm like, yeah, yeah, sure. So I think, yeah, definitely, like those are two quite opposing answers. I think
Yeah,
one is quite like, relaxed, and one is more strict, but I think you need that balance to get yourself
absolutely.
out there. Yeah.
That is just a perfect balance, like you say. I feel sometimes that I put so much pressure on me. I put deadlines on myself, and then I
Yeah.
stress about them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're the entrepreneur. I mean, you understand that, you're the business owner. You
Yeah.
can do this whenever.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, if I give too much flexibility to myself,
Yeah.
yeah, of course I want to sit and watch Netflix all day, every day. Who doesn't, right? The instant gratification monkey
Yeah.
will take over. So you got to find the balance of being hard on yourself and being flexible and catering to your needs at the same time. It's a hard one, but getting to know yourself actually helps a lot,
Yeah,
right?
100%. And I think I've realized, like with me, and I think a lot of people realize this, when they're in kind of zones of discomfort is where their best work comes and their best
Yeah.
creativity comes out. And I've realized that when I'm in that space where I'm high pressure, that's when like I get things done quickly. But when I have like time to think about it is when I'm trying to be perfectionist and I try to do this and that, and it doesn't always work out. So
Yeah,
having a balance is key.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I always ask for my clients to complete a character test, if possible, a
Okay.
personality test.
Oh, interesting.
So for me, when I learned about my person, I do 10 and then I take the average as
Okay. Okay.
scientific approach,
Yeah, yeah.
obviously, right?
That's a
Don't
good
believe
point.
in one personality
That's a
test.
good point. That's a good point.
But when I figured that I'm a massive extrovert and I work really well with others and I create ideas better with others, I put a lot of masterminds and meetings. Even with my husband, I have a meeting every
Ah,
Saturday. Seriously, and it just works better. I'm more
yeah,
productive with these sessions. So
yeah,
if I didn't know this about myself, that I create better with someone, then I would have tried to do the same for maybe 10 hours instead of two.
yeah.
So yeah, get to know
Yeah.
yourself and play to that. Absolutely. By the way, that was a question from a follower on Instagram.
Okay.
And this also is one, and it ties into a little bit of motivation, scarcity mindset, jealousy, entrepreneurship, and productivity together. So she asked,
Yeah.
when you see other people getting their goals and being productive and you're not there yourself for one reason or another,
Yeah.
how do you keep that, like what do you feel and how do you cope with it? I think this is happening right now. Like social media is only pushing the
Mm,
best of everything, and
mm,
if you start comparing yourself, then you can easily get like, well, they're ahead anyway.
yeah.
How do you stay productive while watching others, which we will happen anytime,
Okay.
anywhere,
Mhm.
and just get on with it? How do you cope with that?
Yeah. Um, I think the honest answer to that is that I think I've struggled with that a little bit, just because you see someone that's in the same field as you and has, let's say, a million subscribers, for example, right? And is doing a certain thing, whereas that it's not your time yet to do that thing. But just because you feel like they're doing it, I want to do it, you go ahead and do it. You put time into it, money into it, but you haven't actually researched the field. You haven't actually thought about if that's what your audience wants. And I've done things like that in the past,
Mm,
thinking this is what I should be doing because this other person's doing it, this other YouTuber is doing it, when actually that's not what suits my audience or even my lifestyle. And I think I've learned the hard way. Like I've spent money buying a domain, a website, just to start something new, when actually that's not what I should be focusing on right now. So I think for me, the way that I kind of, I guess, limit that is by just looking at my own successes and my own achievements and saying, look, for where you are, for who you are, for the time you spent, like you've done amazingly, and look at the successes of my own, like looking to myself, and then kind of just feel satisfaction, I guess. It's really difficult.
yeah,
Like it's not just, I guess, not just even academically. I think even in life, people are buying houses and getting married and having kids, and you think you're not, why am I not there yet? And I think
yeah,
it's not a race. Life isn't a race, it's not, we all have our own time. Some get married at, 20, some 30, some 40. Like there's no time limit. We're not racing against each other. I think the key thing is that we have to be happy with where we are. And I think like I said, it's something that we all struggle. I think especially with social media, we're seeing people on a daily basis online doing great things, traveling, like obviously not now,
yeah,
but like, doing things that you want to do, and it makes you feel like you're missing out, like FOMO, like fear of missing out. You want to do that thing
yeah,
as well. So I think probably my biggest advice would be just to forget about, like, it's hard, forget about what others are doing and look into yourself, and remember that behind every like highlight you see, there is a struggle there. It's you might see someone get a million subscribers, but you don't know how hard they work to get there, Have you worked that hard to get there yet? Probably not. So you will get there, you know, when your time is right. So yeah.
I absolutely love that. And I think I read something along those lines once, talking about maybe you're not in the same chapters of the book of your life. Maybe they're in chapter 20 and you're in chapter 2, and you will get to chapter 20.
Yeah.
And then the whole age comparison comes, like she's 30, I'm 30,
Yeah.
he's 35, I'm like, yeah, but maybe you did something that they didn't do yet. They will target at 40 and you already did that in your 20s, kind of thing. So you never know what the structure of the book is, which chapter is where, and where you are in the chapters anyway. So when you feel like somebody is doing amazing things and being extremely productive, I mean, just ignore, stay away. And I call it, somebody called it stimulation detox. Stop the stimulation coming in, and you know, like just making that feeling inside of you, because the feeling comes, right? Like we're human, it happens, but then how you direct that feeling and what you focus on really makes the biggest difference. Brilliant, Amina, lovely, thank you.
You know what, I'm so guilty of I mean, as YouTubers, we have clickbaity titles, right? So I think one of my popular videos is I finished my PhD at 25. So obviously that's like feeding into this age thing. But obviously it's clickbait. It was nothing about my age. It was more to do with like my journey. But I think people need to remember that I didn't take a single gap year. I went straight from school to college to university, and like I didn't take any time off. But looking back at it now, I wish I did. Like I wish I, you know, took a year out and traveled, and I wish I had an industry year, and I wish I did a placement. Like so many things I missed out on. So many things. Like I would have been happy graduating at 30. Like, you know, so many things I missed out on. So it's not about the number. You know, I think it's more about the experience of what you learn along the way. Like the number doesn't matter, honestly.
I absolutely, that is such an honest, such a real thing that you just said there. Yeah, maybe sometimes you get things faster, but you miss out on other things while, you know, rushing to get things faster. So sometimes it's good to slow down as well. I mean, you're brilliant. Okay, so I'm just checking the chat. The cutest thing is we don't have questions, but we have so many people from my other channel, my Turkish channel. So hi, Turkish family, and they're writing in English. They're saying hi to you, and they're watching us right now. So thank you for being here.
How do you say hello? Like thank you in Turkish?
We have two ways to say it. We can say merhaba.
But okay, merhaba, like Arabic, like merhaba, like that.
Or selam. Yeah.
Selam. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like crazy. But yeah, I usually say when I open my videos, I usually say good morning, whatever the time of the day is. I just love to say that.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, no.
Nice. We have a question, I think.
We do?
Yeah. Hi, Dr.
Perfect. How to overcome procrastination, Amina. I mean, you touched on this a little bit, and this video will be recorded so that people can go watch it from the beginning again. But tell us.
How to overcome procrastination. Okay. I've got two tips for you. Number one is to go into whatever task it is with a very defined plan. Like very defined plan. Never start something with just I want to do X thing, right? You want to go into any task with a defined plan. Let's just take an example of, let's say, this live. We didn't just start this live just like that. You know, we planned in advance. We tested it out, you know, a couple of times. We asked our audience for questions. We wrote the questions down so we know what we're going to say. They're defined. It wasn't just let's just go live, right? And I think, you know, this is obviously a minor example, but in everything, you need to always have a plan, because what happens then is sometimes procrastination takes over. But what you want is for your mind not to have to depend, I guess, on yourself, but rather to depend on the plan that you did when you were at your best. And I think we talked about this last time.
Yes.
If you have a plan, you know, the day before or whenever it was done, then on that day, you're not depending on motivation, because, you know, motivation is fleeting. It's up and down, it's up and down. You want to depend on the fact that you have a plan. And when you procrastinate, you just think, okay, right, no, back to the plan. Plan is there. Okay, step number 2 is to do this thing, right? So that's probably my number one key thing, is to overcome.
Perfect.
Secondly, I would say to remove the things that I guess encourage procrastination for you. So everyone's different, but in most of our cases, it's our phone. It might be a notification, it might be emails, whatever it is for you, TV, a friend, whatever. If that thing is, every single time it goes off, you end up going on a tangent, get rid of it, put it away from your space, put it in a box, put it downstairs, whatever it is, put it away. That way, again, you're limiting the chance of procrastinating because there's nothing to procrastinate about, right? So I think those are probably like my top two things that I personally do when I want to like overcome procrastination.
And I second both of them. Exactly. The first being break it down to the minimum amount that you can break. Like literally, you just gave an example last week of open the Word document, like save it, write the title. That is like how you break and make a very detailed plan. And obviously the second one is you got to eliminate the things or make them harder access, like the phone example. It used to be in another room. Then I moved it to a drawer. Like I'm getting used, and also while sleeping, like it's a big issue for me. I used to go to bed around the time I wanted to go to bed, and then 2 hours later I'm on my phone still, like watching stuff.
Guilty.
And in the morning as well, like I take my phone and I'm in bed for half an hour, whatever, and then like the whole morning routine then takes 3 hours because I spend 2 hours of that watching stuff or doing stuff. So I just plug it across the room. I don't have access to it, and I sleep within like seconds. And in the morning, no.
Having said that, though, I feel like again, there has to be balance, and that's fine to do on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important, because otherwise, if you're limiting yourself every single day, you're going to binge. And that's what you don't want. The same with food. Like you need to have a balance. So, you can sit in bed and browse on your phone for 5 hours on a Saturday. That's your prerogative. But on a Monday when you've got a meeting at 9 a.m., that's not good enough, right? So I think balance is probably like the important thing here.
And it is in cellular biology as well, right? Everything in balance, everything.
In life, honestly, I think we should have a balanced life in general. Like I remember people always ask me when I was doing my PhD and I was vlogging, like, how are you so social, but you're also doing a PhD? Like, I don't have time to do anything else. And I'm like, look, it's all about balance. That experiment can wait, honestly. Like my mental health needs to go out and like it needs to enjoy. You need to have balance. Nothing in life works without some sort of balance. Like the earth won't spin on its axis if it wasn't balanced from gravity. Like it just doesn't.
That's exactly it. And we got a follow-up question from Madrid Killer, and I will just answer this very quickly and I will get to your answer. The problem is that he needs the iPhone and the iPad for studying. So what I did is to block certain apps around certain times, so you cannot go there. And also there's a browser main page that says, this is how many hours you left in life. Are you sure you want to write youtube.com or whatever there? Like it's crazy. It's a countdown on an average human life. It's stressful in my opinion, so I didn't do it. But if you're struggling with opening a browser and going to a website that is not productive for the time that you want to be, or an app, you can block these from happening. There are settings for that now. So that's my...
There's also, I don't know the name. I think it's called like some sort of focus, but you can have like a focus like add-on onto your browser. Where I think it like takes away any notification, ads. It's basically just blank, so you can't exit it. The other thing that I used to do also was I would have a new user on my laptop. So how you have like your normal user with all your logins and all your YouTube. I'd have another login, like another user for that just has nothing logged in. So that, and no email, no phone, like nothing. So that way you've only got like Word, I guess, like literally just that. Or depending on your task, turn your Wi-Fi off.
Nice.
I just turn off. Like honestly, it's just not necessary. I just turn off. If I don't need it, I've got my papers downloaded, everything's available offline. Why do you need the internet? Just turn off.
This is brilliant. I love that. I've never thought about that. So perfect. I mean, I'm sure my husband would react to that a little bit, but if you can,
like on your laptop, just turn like turn off Wi-Fi from your,
right, for the
yeah, not
device.
even
Yes,
that far. Just on your device.
I'm like all in, remove everything, you know.
House switch off. I mean, you could do that as well. But
Yeah, that will make
you know,
sure.
just turn off. My parents, this is the, like, I think it's I left my parents when we were younger, they would, like, after a certain time, 8 p.m. or something, they'd turn the Wi-Fi router off completely. So it was like, okay, what are you gonna use now?
Oh, that's such a good
and that
idea
was
for family time.
and that was that. So, and we can't argue with that. Obviously, that our parents, we were young, and that's it. You've had your hour, you've done your work, and that's it. What do you need to browse for? So, I mean, honestly, it obviously requires discipline, because you can obviously turn it on again. But I think if you get into that habit of being like, okay, cool, I'm working now, let's turn this off. There's nothing to click on.
Yeah.
Or
Oh,
airplane
I
mode
love
works.
that.
Airplane mode as well. I used to do that with my phone. Yeah.
Perfect.
It's a
I mean,
simple
I can talk to you and ask you these questions for hours and hours and hours, and you have so much gold. That's why I'm saying it again. Please go to Amina's channel and check the content, because I am obsessed. I've been obsessed since we met in 2018.
Yeah.
And like it's just crazy good. So thank you so much.
Thank
Do
you
you
for
have
having
any
me.
final words that you wanna, any
Well,
wisdom?
any words of advice? Let us know, like, what you want to see from us in terms of productivity. I think, like, feel free to DM, like, either one of us. We're thinking a lot more about, like, what new information we can bring to the table, because I think there's a lot about productivity that's been hot in the past, like, 2, 3, 4 years, especially now. And sometimes it's like regurgitated, like, I'm a bit bored of what's out there. So I
Work
think,
from home.
yeah, work from home is the samey stuff. And it's usually from guys as well. So I think it's quite nice to have a discussion where we're talking about, actual issues that, can happen
Yeah.
for a whole, for women, which is so important, because we can be productive too, but we have obviously different barriers. So
Yeah.
I think it's yeah. Feel free to
Help us help you.
so, yeah, what if we could answer like 2 or 3 questions, what would those questions be? What would you want to hear from us, basically? I think is like what we want to know.
Yep,
But
that's
yeah,
absolutely what we want to
you
know.
will
Thank you
see
so
more from
much.
us in the future for sure, together. 100%.
Absolutely, absolutely.
100%.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
no,
for being
thank you.
here. This was so much fun, but also, wow, I'm really excited about this.
Yeah,
And also so informative, so valuable.
true.
Yes, like you said, we're going to be doing more things, videos, lives, some other projects are
Yeah,
happening. So
for sure.
thank you, Amina, and thank you everyone who came
Thank
to listen to
you.
us.
Yeah.
This will be recorded. You can watch it again, but you'll be back.
Yes, for sure. 100%. Lovely speaking to you as always. And you're such an inspiration. I think those that watch your videos gain so much wealth, like, of knowledge. And I think that's probably the most important thing that a person can give someone else. It's knowledge, more than anything else. Like, that's the one thing that we want from each other. So keep it up.
You keep it up. You're an inspiration. Thank you. Okay, I'm ending this and we're going to keep
Cool.
chatting now.
Bye.
Take care,
See you
everyone.
guys.
See you
Bye.
next time. Right.